Tonight on Fast Check, we examine when conflict of interest plays without a mask. The lines between public duty and private gain are blurring fast.
In crypto, the really big battles aren't just fought on the price charts. They're fought out in the open, on social media, in the court of public opinion. Today, we're diving deep into a massive feud between a powerful exchange CEO and a huge community project. We're going to peel back all the layers of accusations and figure out what's really going on. Let's get into it.
And it all started with this. Wow. Just 4 words from Ben Zhou, the CEO of the major exchange Bybit. He didn't just raise concerns, he dropped a bomb. He flat out called Pi Network a scam. And this wasn't some quiet, off-the-cuff remark. Oh no, this was a public declaration of war that sent shockwaves through the entire crypto space.
Okay, so to make sense of all this chaos, here's our game plan. First, we're going to introduce the main players in this fight. Then, we'll walk through the timeline to see just how quickly things exploded. After that, we'll get to the juicy part, fact-checking the biggest claims. We'll also figure out what each side really has to lose or gain. And finally, we'll deliver the verdict.
All right, first up, let's meet the 2 heavyweights squaring off in this public battle.
So in one corner, you've got Ben Zhou. He's the very public face of Bybit, a huge exchange that's really trying to brand itself as one of the responsible guys in the crypto world. And in the other corner, Pi Network, a totally different beast. We're talking a massive grassroots project with over 100 million downloads, all built around this idea of mining crypto on your phone. It's really the establishment versus the movement.
Next, let's look at how this whole thing escalated so fast. I mean, it went from a single comment to an all-out digital war in just a matter of weeks. It's kind of wild.
So it kicks off on February 20th with Zhou's scam tweet. But get this, on the exact same day, a fake Pi account pops up and claims that Pi actually rejected Bybit. Talk about pouring gasoline on the fire. A week later, the official Pi Network account has to come out and say, hey, that fake account has nothing to do with us. But the damage was done. By March 9th, the Pi community hits back, hard, tanking Bybit's app rating with tons of 1-star reviews. And then a few days after that, Zhou just doubles down, saying Pi is even more dangerous than meme coins. Yikes.
Okay, so things got personal and they got heated fast. But what about the actual substance here? Let's put on our investigator hats and really break down Zhou's 4 main claims. We're going to see what holds up and what falls apart.
And we have to start with the big one, right? The accusation that lit the match for this whole firestorm. Pi Network is a scam.
Now, Zhou didn't just pull this out of thin air. He pointed to a real police warning from China back in 2023. Sounds pretty damning, right? Well, here's where context is everything. Pi Network's side of the story is that the police were warning about fraudulent impersonators using the Pi name to scam people, not the official project itself. So by sharing that document without the full story, yeah, that's pretty misleading. All right, next up, Zhou leveled another really serious charge, basically putting Pi in the same category as infamous collapses like BitConnect. He called it a Ponzi scheme. And look, let's be fair. The way Pi's referral model works has raised some eyebrows before. It's a valid concern. But a concern is not proof. With over 100 million users and no collapse in sight, calling it a Ponzi scheme is at best an unproven opinion. It's not a verified fact. So we've got to flag that one as inaccurate.
Zhou then took aim at the people behind the project, or rather, the lack of people. He claimed the founders are basically ghosts who never appear in public.
And on this one, he's right. The Pi Network team is super anonymous. But, and this is a big but, isn't anonymity kind of part of crypto culture? I mean, hello, Satoshi Nakamoto. And here's the kicker. Bybit's own founder was a complete mystery for years. So while the claim is technically true, it's a standard he's applying to them, but didn't seem to care about for his own company. Pretty selective, right? This last claim is a little different. It wasn't an attack, but more of a defense, a response to that fake social media account we mentioned earlier. And here, believe it or not, we actually find some common ground. Both the real Pi Network and Ben Zhou agree on this one. Bybit never applied to list the coin. That fake account was just spreading lies to stir up trouble. So Zhou was totally justified in setting the record straight. On this point, his statement was 100% verified.
So, we've fact-checked the claims. But that just leads to a much bigger question. Why? Why is all this happening? To understand that, we need to look past the accusations and examine the motives. For Ben Zhou, it's pretty clear. By attacking Pi, he positions Bybit as a safe harbor, a responsible exchange. That's a huge reputational win. For Pi Network, the stakes are just as high. A listing on a major exchange like Bybit would be a massive financial boost, and they absolutely have to fight the reputational damage that comes from a CEO of that stature calling them a scam.
But let's dig a little deeper into Zhou's motive here. He's building this entire brand around being a protector of users, someone who cares deeply about security.
Okay, I want you to take a good long look at this number.
$1.5 billion. That's the value of a hack that Bybit, Zhou's own exchange, suffered right as this whole feud was kicking off. This just completely shreds his credibility as a critic of anyone else's security. It's really hard to lecture everyone else about locking their doors when your own house just got completely cleaned out.
So what about Pi Network's response? Well, their community didn't come back with a detailed fact check. Nope, they responded with brute force. Just look at this chart. They basically organized a mob to flood the Bybit app with 1-star reviews, crashing its perfect 5.0 rating all the way down to a 2.7. It wasn't reasoned debate, it was an emotional attack.
Which brings us to the final section, the verdict. After looking at the claims, the timeline, and the very clear motives, what's the real takeaway from this incredibly messy conflict? You know, when you tally it all up, nobody comes out of this looking great. Zhou was very public with his opinions, but his claims were often misleading, and his whole high horse about security is pretty questionable after his own exchange got hacked for $1.5 billion. Meanwhile, the Pi Network team stayed silent and anonymous, letting their community fight their battles with emotion instead of facts. Bottom line, both sides had clear conflicts of interest, and it seems both chose to spin the story rather than just inform people. So what can we all learn from this crypto war? I think it's a really powerful reminder. In a space that is so driven by hype and big personalities, you just can't take anyone's word for it. You have to verify the claims yourself. At the end of the day, trust the data, not the drama.